and said, I'd rather sit 30 rows away and sit in the shade and watch the Royals get thumped 11-3. 11 runs on each of the last two games for the Phillies, as both Brady Singer and Seth Lugo got roughed up, and it was not a good 2 days. They won the first game of the series, and also other things broke well. The Red Sox got swept on the weekend by the Diamondbacks, so they're still 4.5 back, as I indicated in the open, and they still have everything in front of them. 14 games over 500. That's the same as the Minnesota Twins for the second wild card. As I mentioned, 4.5 game bulge over the Red Sox, who'd have to play some pretty darn good baseball to haul down the Royals, even if the Royals slump a little bit. Let's hope it is just sort of treading water in these tough stretches. This was the first game of the first series out of 6 consecutive series against either a first-place team or the Twins, which will continue for a 4-game series, which starts in just a little bit, and 4 games played in just over 72 hours or so, actually just over 36 hours or so. No, it's 72. It's through Wednesday. I need to do my math better. But anyway, they play a split doubleheader Monday, night game Tuesday, day game Wednesday, and then on to play Minnesota. So lots of things on the plate. Certainly a disappointing weekend, but one Bobby Witt Jr. hit a home run yesterday. That was 26 on the season. He was 2 for 4. He's hitting .347. He's been remarkable. Only Aaron Judge's absolutely historic run has caught. He'd be the total sensation of baseball if this wasn't the case. But Witt hits a home run. MJ Melendez hits a home run. Miguel Garcia hit a home run. Those are the 3 bright spots for the Royals. But in general, it was a disappointing day. So in talking to first Bobby Witt Jr. and MJ Melendez, they indicated that, hey, you got to shrug it off and bounce back and take it, quote unquote, one day at a time.
We just kind of figure out what we got to learn from. Got to do the little things right and then move on and get after it tomorrow.
Did you feel like it was a day that little things weren't taken care of?
Yeah, that's what we got to do to beat these teams, is just do the little things right, and that's what we're going to continue to get better at. And so I still think that the sky's the limit for us, and so we're just going to keep taking things day by day like we do, prepare the way we do, and go out there and compete.
Yeah, it's a quick turnaround. I mean, how confident are you in this team to be able to bounce back and play 2 tomorrow in Cleveland?
Yeah, we're all the confidence in the world. We're going out there to go to their place, and we're going to enjoy it.
How are you feeling physically? You play every single game. You got 4 games in less than, about 72 hours already?
Yeah, this is fun. This is the fun part, getting to play every day, 2 games a day. So, yeah, this is what you want to do.
It's just baseball. Honestly, you're going to have your days where you come out and as a team we swing amazing, and sometimes, we're not. So just part of the game, honestly. Nothing like super crazy. Obviously, he made his pitches when he needed to, and he was just better today.
Some uncharacteristic, defensive mistakes the last 2 days. Do you feel like that's just not, what this team's about?
I mean, like I said, it's just baseball. Like, it happens. Like, you're gonna make your mistakes. It's nothing that we're gonna dwell on. We got a big series coming up, and we're gonna be prepared. I feel good where this team is at, and I'm excited for these next few games.
When you do have the runners in scoring position, and do approaches at the plate need to change?
No, I mean, obviously it just depends. Like, not always. I mean, if you're having success, when you're doing something certain, then why change it? So, like I said, just today obviously just wasn't our day, and things happen. But I have no doubt that tomorrow we're going to come back on all cylinders and have a great game.
And the starting pitching has been so good this season, but when it goes like that, when there's 5 or 6 runs there by the 5th or 6th inning, I mean, does that put any extra pressure on the lineup?
No, our pitching has been incredible this season. Like, they've picked us up so many times. We've had so many close games that our offense hasn't produced, and the pitching has really backed us. So definitely not. It just it happens. Just one of those games.
He was able to avoid hard contact, but you saw him well. What did you see that made you effective today?
Just had an approach that I wanted to stick to today, especially I know I haven't had the best success against left-handers this season, but I still feel confident. I know I can hit them just as well, if not better than I do righties. So just trying to get the head out front, but also trying to stay through the ball as well.
You play again in about 20 hours or so. Is that kind of what you want after a day like today?
Oh, for sure. Like, we got a bunch of competitors on this team, and each of us wants to go out and win every single game. Obviously, that's not really realistic. So to get back out there as soon as possible is, I think, really good for us.
The next phase of the gauntlet starts today in Cleveland, as those two guys indicated, and it's time for the Royals to sort of gut check it. And they've got a little leeway in one sense, and they've got some ground to make up in another sense if they want to take a run at that division. I think I still am more focused on the wild card. Some people say you don't focus on the wild card until you're forced to. Well, I think that to me, that's going to be a tougher pull. The Guardians have a little bit easier schedule. I think the Twins are maybe a slightly better team, and they've had the Royals' number. Maybe the Royals can change that. But what it means in general is that here we sit on the 26th of August, and Royals baseball is extremely relevant. They've got one of the stars of the game, one of the keynote players in the game in baseball, and, of course, in football. So pretty amazing times in Kansas City. Royals baseball will be fun for the next 5 weeks, and it looks like beyond into the playoffs. Well, as far as Major League Baseball overall is concerned, our baseball roundup has usually been interesting from the standpoint that Royals fans are getting a chance to pay more attention, and there were just a slew of teams that were in the mix. Well, as we just get set to be about in September, things have really kind of shaken out and boiled out, and a lot of teams have played themselves out of it, and the races that are really scintillating are more for the division rather than a whole bunch of teams being involved for the wild card. In the American League East, the Yankees have a 1.5 game lead over the Orioles. They're riding an unbelievable wave of play by Aaron Judge. He has, I think it's 18 home runs since the All-Star break or something ridiculous like that. I think it is 18 home runs. He homered again on Sunday. He had 2 of them. He's up to 51 home runs. He's just been remarkable. He's hitting almost 340, and he's a threat for the batting title, even with Bobby Witt Jr. That's one thing you thought Bobby Witt might have in hand, but Judge has just been incredible. Juan Soto had another home run yesterday. That 1-2 punch is one of the greatest in the history of the game, so pretty remarkable for the Yankees, and they've straightened things out after a flat spot, won 6 of their last 10 games, and now have a 1.5 game lead over the Orioles, who split a 4-game series with the Astros winning yesterday. The Red Sox picked a bad time to get swept at home by the Diamondbacks, that's for sure. 67-62 for them. They're out of the division race, and they just have to hope that the Royals' tough stretch allows them to get back into it. But it was great news for the Royals over the weekend as the Diamondbacks, the Snakes, came in and got the Red Sox 3 straight times, so it's a 4.5 game lead for them. The Rays just keep hanging around, but it's an admirable 500 team for them. Their playoff percentage is listed at 2.6. Blue Jays have had a very disappointing season. Central, that we've talked about, Guardians by 3 over the Twins and the Royals. The Tigers, I guess, could win, 25 out of 30 and get themselves back into the playoff race, but that's not likely. And the White Sox continue on a tremendous drumbeat towards being the team that has the worst record in the history of modern baseball. Their winning percentage is .237. Better than .250 is what they need in order to break the record, or not set the record, of the New York Mets. I don't know. They don't look much like they're attuned to doing that. They win the occasional game. 2 of their last 10 have been won by the White Sox, and that's just a miserable story. The Astros in general have been hot, although they've only split their last 10 games. Meanwhile, the Mariners have been terrible. They won on Sunday, but have lost 7 of their last 10 games. Astros have a 4.5 game lead in the West. Texas Rangers with one of the more disappointing seasons you'll see for a defending champion. The Red Sox had kind of cornered the market on doing that, winning a championship and then having a bad year the next year. The Athletics have played 500 baseball for a long, long time now, but still they're 20 games under 500. That's a promising team for next year. They have a lot of young talent, and the Angels are just a mess. They don't have much young talent. They've got Mike Trout returning maybe next year. They ought to trade him is what they ought to do. But anyway, bad times in Los Angeles for them, but they've got the Dodgers. We'll get to them in a minute. Saw the Phillies over the weekend. They looked like maybe they're regaining some form. They'd had a long, dry spell, but they looked like hell on wheels the last couple of games against the Royals. They have a 6-game lead in the standings over the Braves. Braves in the wild card race, and basically is now boiled down to a 2-team race, the Braves and the Mets. They have the Mets by 2.5 games right now. We're also going to see the Nationals towards the end of the season, and they've had a competitive season, maybe better than people thought, but still well backed. Marlins have been disastrous. The Brewers keep on humming. They've won 7 of their last 10 games. They've shrugged off the loss of Christian Yelich. They have great pitching. They've got a massive lead over the St. Louis Cardinals, who inserted themselves for a little bit in the wild card race, but they've started to fade now, and they'd need another incredibly hot streak to stay in it. Cubs, Reds, Pirates, they're playing out the string. Dodgers sort of bounce back and forth between being surprisingly mediocre and then getting hot again, and they've won 7 of their last 10, and that's been good timing for them because the Diamondbacks have done the same thing, and they have won 6 consecutive games, and they're only 3 games back. Padres have played good ball for a long time. They're 4.5 back, and the Giants are one of those teams that would have to get sizzling hot at 500 to get back into the wild card race, and the Rockies are one of those handful of teams that just hasn't been competitive in this particular season. As I mentioned earlier, a little bit different of a scenario, a layout as far as soccer is concerned this weekend. Sporting Kansas City, they were eliminated from Leagues Cup. They'd had a couple of weeks off. They hadn't played in MLS for a long time. They're still going to need a hot run in order to get into the playoffs. But they entertained their fans on a Saturday night, for one night anyway, blasting Orlando City by a count of 3-0. Daniel Shalloy with a goal. They actually won the game despite getting a red card late when they were up 2-0. Had to play about 25 minutes, down a man. But it was one of their better performances of the season. And Sporting Kansas City looking to make a run. They're still alive, as I mentioned, in U.S. Open Cup. You have a semifinal game against Indianapolis tomorrow. So silverware is still potentially there to be had for Sporting Kansas City, despite the fact that it has been a disappointing season, and all the talk is what the rebuild is going to be like in the off-season for SKC. We're a rare bit of bleak news, a cloud in a sunny sky for the Kansas City Current. They've been so good this year, but they had a dud on Sunday as they fell to the Washington Spirit by a count of 4-1. Bad first half for the team, just their second loss of the year. They had won 6 consecutive games in various cup competitions, but their return to league play went not so well. I guess they're allowed to have one little blip on the radar, and Coach Vlad, after the game, talked about the fact that the team needed maybe a little dose of adversity. He says, well, I don't think we needed to lose 4-1 in order for that to be the case, but they did, and I'm sure they'll be bouncing back. They have one of the better teams in the league. They got a goal. They score a bunch of goals, and they have one of the league's top goal scorers. So things are pretty good there, but a little bit of a juxtaposition as far as the other kind of football in Kansas City over this weekend. Significant golf on Sunday, to say the least, early, if this is your thing. It was the Women's British Open. It's always fun to watch golf at St. Andrews, no matter who's playing, and the women put on a great show. There were, on the leaderboard during the course of the day, there were 6 former number 1 players in the world who were battling it out, and in the end, Lydia Ko continued an incredible summer of golf by winning by 1 stroke over a couple of players, and she made a late birdie at 17 and then was able to hang on for the victory, and actually she birdied 18 to get the win, or put herself into the lead, and then waited out, and she gets the win. She tacks it on to an Olympic gold medal. That finished off a sweep of the medals over the last 3 Olympics, where she's won silver, then bronze, then gold. So remarkable work by Lydia Ko, one of the great stories. There's been some talk about her retiring, but if she does so, she will be going out on an incredibly high note. It's been quite a summer as well for Keegan Bradley. He was named the Ryder Cup captain in July, and then he had played well all season, but then he had a bad tournament in the first playoff tournament, but squeaked into the 50th spot to move on to the next playoffs in the BMW Championship at Castle Pines. That was beautiful TV up in the mountains of Colorado, that's for sure. And it was pretty scintillating golf as well, as Bradley, on a tough day, shot even par and won the BMW Championship, moved all the way from 50th in the FedEx Cup standings to 4th. And he held off Sam Burns, who had easily the best round of the day with a 65. Other guys kind of faded away as the tournament went on, including Ludwig Aberg, and he is one of the bright stars of the PGA, but he has had trouble on the weekends, especially on Sundays, in unusual fashion. 4 players came from outside the top 30 into the top 30 in this tournament. Among